rude person. Legal situation. Wrapped up. Let's go. This reading feels like the moment somebody discovers that being loud, difficult, or intimidating does not mean that they are in control. I'm looking at the rude person card, the legal situation, and wrapped up, and together they tell a very particular story. There has been someone around this situation who believed they could keep pushing boundaries because nobody had properly stopped them yet. They may have spoken disrespectfully, sent something they shouldn't have sent. Ooh, spirit. Made accusations, created unnecessary conflict, refused to cooperate, or behaved as though consequences were something that happened to other people. But the energy changes completely when the hammer comes down, because we move away from personality and into paperwork, evidence, decisions, agreements, and accountability. And I want you to notice something. The rude person comes before the legal situation. That is a big deal. Something about this person's own behavior may actually be what pushes the situation into a more formal direction. In other words, they could become the architect of their own problem. One more message, one more outburst, one more contradiction, one more refusal to do what was reasonably asked. Something they consider insignificant could become the very thing that makes another person say enough. I am going to start documenting this now. For some of you, this isn't necessarily a courtroom, a legal situation. It can represent a contract, settlement, mediation, workplace matter, property issues, separation agreement, insurance claim, an official complaint, government paperwork, financial dispute, or something requiring signatures and documentation. But whatever form it takes, this reading strongly emphasizes a matter moving out of emotional chaos and into structured process. And strangely, that may be exactly what was needed, because you cannot reason indefinitely with someone who benefits from keeping everything confused. Somebody watching this has spent far too much time explaining themselves to a person, committed to misunderstanding them constantly. Every conversation became another argument. Every attempt at resolution created another problem. You would leave the interaction replaying it in your head thinking, how the fuck did we get here? That's the signature of the first card. When the court hammer comes down, the conversation is changing. It becomes less. Who can shout the loudest? It becomes less of that and more of what can actually be established. Dates matter, messages matter, documents matter. What was agreed matters. And suddenly, the person who was comfortable operating inside confusion may become considerably less comfortable when everything is placed in chronological order. There is also something interesting about the wrapped up card being last. That isn't a card of endless battle, it's completion. Loose ends being tied, a chapter reaching the point where there is simply nothing left to argue about. I actually feel that for some people. The biggest surprise isn't going to be the outcome. It will be how quickly your nervous system changes once this situation is no longer occupying your life. You become accustomed to anticipating the next problem, checking your phone, wondering what it is that they are going to say next, preparing explanations for conversations that haven't even happened. Drainer. Running imagery arguments while you're showering, driving, or trying to sleep. Then one day, crickets, nothing. No new drama, no new demand, no new argument. And initially the silence may feel unfamiliar. That's when you realize how much space this situation had been taking up inside of you. There is a strong message here about not meeting chaos with more chaos. If this involves a genuine legal or contractual matter, deal with the facts and obtain appropriate professional advice rather than treating a card reading as legal guidance. So do your due diligence. Energetically though, these cards favour composure. Let somebody else reveal themselves through their behaviour. You don't have to interrupt every mistake they make. They may be even someone who tries to provoke a reaction because your reaction would allow them to shift attention away from what they did. Don't hand them the gift. Spirit is saying do not. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is somebody quietly keeping receipts. And I keep getting a very specific scene, an email, a letter, a document or notification arriving that changes the atmosphere immediately. It could contain a decision, a request, agreement, a signature, a deadline, or confirmation that something is progressing towards completion. For somebody else, I see a phone conversation where the person on the other end is surprisingly calm and says things that make you realize, okay, this is it, this is finally moving. There could also be money attached to this for some of you, a settlement, reimbursement, a division of something, payment, compensation, bond, inheritance, insurance matters or funds that have been held up while another issue was resolved. That is not a promise of a particular legal outcome. It is simply one way the symbolism of paperwork, settlement, completion can manifest. Now here's the part I find fascinating. The last card covered, we get something almost childlike. Colour, lightness, relief. And symbolically, I read that as life becoming simple again. All the sweets. You may have forgotten how good ordinary life feels when nobody is manufacturing emergencies around you, going somewhere without explaining yourself, sleeping without checking your phone, buying something without somebody questioning you, laughing without suddenly remembering the situation, making plans beyond next week. That is the real ending here. Not defeating somebody, but getting your life back. I also feel the different person may eventually realize they miscalculated you. Perhaps they interpreted your patience as weakness, perhaps because you didn't react to their bullshit. Perhaps you gave them opportunities to resolve something privately and they mistook those opportunities for fear. But eventually patience develops a boundary. And once that boundary arrives, you don't necessarily become louder. That's a very different energy. For someone watching, the names Daniel, Rebecca, or Marcus may stand out. I also keep getting the letters J, R, and T, and the connection with the numbers 3, 11, or 27. Take those only if they naturally mean something. Don't force them. Watch out for unusual synchronicities, scales, keys, sealed envelopes, signatures, or the word final. You may also repeatedly hear phrases like close it out, settled, approved, resolved, or that's the end of it. And there is one final message in these cards that I don't want to miss. Sometimes closure doesn't arrive because someone finally apologizes. Sometimes they never understand what they did. Sometimes they understand perfectly and still refuse to admit it. Closure can arrive another way. The paperwork gets signed, the decision gets made, the belongings get collected, the money gets transferred, the keys get returned, the number gets blocked, and the door closes. And eventually you stop needing the person who created the wound to also be the person who validates it. Nasty. That may be the deepest ending that is going to happen here. You are not waiting for them to become reasonable before you allow yourself to move forward. Rude person, legal situation, wrapped up. 3 cards, 3 stages. The situation. They create the conflict. The situation becomes formal. And the cycle closes. So if you've been asking yourself how much longer you're going to have to carry this reading doesn't feel like another chapter of the same story. It feels like the final page. And somebody who thought they could keep you trapped in their chaos may be about to discover something they never expected. You stop fighting them because you were already walking towards the exit. If this reading found you in the middle of something you are finally ready to put behind you, affirm. Case closed.